Hello, Wade Cox here, and welcome to the Ski with Wade podcast. I've been involved with this sport of water skiing for over 40 years now. I was fortunate enough to be a professional, and now I'm a full-time water ski coach. Today's guest and I will be talking about water skiing. We'll also be talking a little bit about travel and maybe a little about life as well. Thanks for joining us today. Ski with Wade, cut more rope. Hey guys, welcome to Wade's World. A super special guest today, Miss Melanie Rosales, a singer, a unbelievable singer. I'll get onto this a little bit more. An even better person, a personal friend of mine.
Very personal.
And an avid water skier.
Well, I love to water ski, and I'm a water ski owner.
So we met. This is actually a really funny story. I'm good friends with Miss Melba's husband, Charlie. And so when he was coming to my ski school, God, this was 25 years ago, right?
At least.
We're here in Cross Lake, Minnesota on the Whitefish chain. And I've been coming here for about 25 years. As soon as I met these guys, they invited me up, and I've been coming here ever since and just completely tickled. So we're in the dock in Florida when you guys were still Floridians, and
Skiing with the gators.
Skiing with all the gators, right? And you guys were at the beach where the sharks were, so we had sharks, gators, and we're doing all the bad stuff.
Don't fall.
Yeah, don't fall,
no
exactly.
Fall zone.
So Charlie says, and at this point, I haven't met you yet. I was going to meet you like right away. We're going to come over to your house and have dinner, and we're talking about music on the dock, as all skiers do. Well, most skiers, the normal ones at least, we had music on the dock. We're talking about a show we saw, whatever, and then Charlie says, well, yeah, my wife's a bit of a singer. So I thought, and we even brought this up after, hey, you could have been like the wedding singer.
Oh,
right? Right? You know, the movie,
well, I
right?
have done many weddings.
So we were like, well, okay, well, does she sing in the church choir? Okay. So then Charlie says, well, have you heard of this singer named Bonnie Raita? And I was like, oh, Charlie's married to Bonnie Raita. Then he goes, no. He goes, she's been a singer for Bonnie on 17 albums, something like that.
Not that many, but
yeah, like these are sort of ridiculous numbers and then Taj Mahal, Prince, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis, some of the best producers in the entire world. So you've lived sort of quite the musical life, right?
yeah, kind of, and no one knows about it, I guess, except now you do. But
Well, no, the cool thing, so Bonnie was doing a show not long ago in Minneapolis. It was a sold-out venue, I'm sure one of those big ones.
State Fair, giant.
And you were on stage with her?
She let me come up and sing a little bit.
So she stops 4 times during the show. I did my little homework here.
Wow.
And she stopped 4 times during the show to let the Minneapolis audience know how lucky they were to have you as a city girl.
She is the most gracious person. She is so generous with helping, and she's just a really, when you see her or think that you listen to her music and think how lovely she must be, she's that and more. She is just generous.
Well, so let's talk about what led you to eventually getting to hang out and be on stage with Bonnie Raita. So you realized early on you like music, like growing up in your house.
4 and 5, and I started singing like Elvis stuff and then show tunes, whatever my parents had, a ton of different varieties. My father is Mexican, so
Rosales,
we
yeah.
had all the, the mariachi stuff, all that kind of thing. My mother had the Broadway. We had the jazz, the Tony Bennett stuff, and the Frank Sinatra. And then as I was coming up, then there was Bonnie Raita and War and, Santana, all that stuff. And I also loved all the country, so there was a lot of music in my house all the time. So I started singing all kinds of music. And then I kind of, as I got older, I narrowed it into the blues. I kind of just loved that. I don't know how or why, coming from Iowa. But
and getting inducted in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
Awesome.
And I'm really
Yes.
excited about it. I'm very honored, and I think it's very thrilling. And I grew up there and started my career there. And I did my first job, I think, I was 11 or 12 in a country roadhouse bar in Iowa, and it was hardcore. It was called Dusty's Corral. And my dad took me, and he would sit in the front, and I would sing like 2 sets. And then my dad would wait, and then we'd go home, and I'd make like $20. It was like big. So that's how I started, like actually really working, and then I worked from that age on until now.
Well, I like that because I had some more musicians on one of my past podcasts, John David Kent, who produced Jet Jenkins' album, who we were talking about earlier.
It was also great.
Yes, who's an unbelievable little musician, right? So he grew up sort of the same in this musical household, and I asked him, was there ever this cognitive sort of thought that you're going to be a singer or a musician versus, hey, I'm going to go to college or get a real job? So was it that way with you? Just sort of.
I think I knew like from forever that that's what I was going to do. And then when I went to college, it was all music and art anyway. So that was really fun. But after my second year of college, I knew that I needed to go. So I left and I started touring, ended up going all over the United States and just playing bars and clubs and everywhere up in Canada. And then I started doing a couple Department of Defense shows. So you go overseas and you sing for the troops, which was really fun.
Oh, I bet. Right. What an honor, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate honor.
And it was really cool. And I felt like, we flew over in those big, I don't know what they're, the
C-130.
where the rear end comes out, where
right.
the tanks go in. Yeah. We rode in a circle around a giant airplane engine that they were hauling, and in like fold up lawn chairs. I like to travel a different way now.
Well, it certainly means you appreciate your freedom, though, right?
Yes.
Like what others are doing for you.
It was
right.
It was so cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh my God, it was so cool.
Yeah.
We got to go inside of the tanks, and they were just so happy to see anyone from the U.S.
Right.
And
right.
it was great. That was one of my great memories for always.
So let's talk about instruments along the way too. So you're singing, and obviously you realize because I read somewhere about you realizing that your pitch was almost perfect, and you've got this.
Got good pitch. Thank you.
Yes.
That was just thanks genetically.
Right, and then but we're like piano, drums, guitar.
I got a ukulele when I was 8 years old from my uncle, owned a music store, and he just brought me a little ukulele, and he started teaching. It was a baritone uke, so that's just the top 4 strings of a guitar. It's not tuned like a regular ukulele. So he started teaching me like C, F, G, D, and I was just hooked. And I just took it to bed with me. I played it all the time, day and night. And then he's like, there's only 2 extra strings. Why don't you just learn the other 2?
Right.
So then I got a guitar, and so I played that for years and years. I'm not great. It's kind of like my skiing. I love it, but I still suck at it. Oh, can we say that?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. We can edit that, but we probably won't. Yeah. So
I won't say my other repertoire of lovely words. Anyway, then I took piano from, 3rd grade to all through college. And then I played stand-up bass in the high school orchestra, and I was in the marching band as a drummer. So I love all the instruments.
Yeah, I love that. So at one point, someone said,
"No, I'm good." I should just add, I was never great.
Well, then let me ask you, how much songwriting did you do?
0. I do not have that gift.
Yeah,
and I believe that is truly a gift. And I don't have it. I think the true artists of the music world are the writers. A lot of people can interpret songs. There's a million great singers, a million. And the writers are the...
Well, and I think I'm sort of guilty as charged as well. I can speak. I can public speak. It doesn't bother me. I can do this sort of deal. Writing, I'll double down on the air. I suck at it. Yeah, I really do, because it's like even doing the notes for this, I'm like, I almost have anxiety. I'm going, okay, I have to go do some internet research on my friend, and I've got to like prepare, and it does. It sort of so I get that. So at what point did someone say, or the bell ring, and you go, okay, I'm going to Minneapolis?
I was singing in a Holiday Inn like show band, like where you don't do any original stuff. It's just, covers. And I went on break, and this guy came up to me who turned out to be Doug Nelson, who is not with us anymore. He was a bass player. He played with Kid Johnny Lang, Olivia Newton-John, all these people. And he said, I live in Minneapolis. You really need to go there. So I'm like, well, all right. He said, I've got a band that I think you should work with, and they're my friends, and why don't you come and audition? So I did. I went up and auditioned and got the job, and then I became a waitress right away because we didn't have any work, so I had to have money to eat, so I was not a good waitress either. That's a hard job.
Yeah.
Really hard job. So that took a couple months, and then I started working. And once I started working there, I started getting jingles that I got hired to sing ads. And then I did a couple, out-of-state tours, and it was just fun. And then I worked forever. I worked nonstop the whole time. So it was a while to get started, but once it took off, it was good.
Well, so that's let's talk about that. Once you're here in we're 3 hours out of Minneapolis, and the wife has changed. But once you were in the Minneapolis scene, when did it sort of evolve, and you all of a sudden, were you going to do? We're going to edit this part.
Okay.
I just fucked up. Sorry, Lisa. We're doing a little editing. Okay.
Lisa, I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah. Hopefully we're going to be able to. Yeah. Hopefully we're going to.
We're reminiscing that we've met you.
So, did you spend many years out on the road touring?
Not years, like year after year, but I did some tours. I toured with Bonnie, which was awesome. Riding in the tour bus with her was she's hilariously funny. So, that was pretty fun. And Ricky Peterson and Bobby Van Dam, all of our pals were on there. So, it was kind of a laugh fest and just fun. It was so fun. And we did a lot of opened for B.B. King, and I did some opening for Taj Mahal. I did some shows with Taj. Once you go out and you kind of start bumping into people, like when you ski, you go traveling around and you just meet people. And then you keep in touch with them and you kind of keep going.
Well, so let's talk about that. I mean, who were, a question from our producer, Miss Lisa, Who were you the most starstruck meeting over the years?
This is going to sound really silly, but it's honest. Wayne Newton. I'm not kidding, because I loved him because he had that cool high voice. Right. Way higher than I can sing.
Yeah.
But most everybody can sing.
Yeah.
And I met him backstage, and I was I know, it's crazy. It's like... But I love his voice, still do. Thought he was great.
Yeah.
It's really
I like that. So what's something you mentioned that Bonnie Raita is really funny. So our producer also said, what would be something besides being funny that no one off the street would know about Bonnie?
Well, I probably shouldn't say. She's really generous. Yeah. Generous, like I said, and caring. She's caring of the people in her band, but also caring of, Native Americans, people that have issues. She's always out pounding the pavement, helping, doing that
being
stuff.
An advocate.
She is amazing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. So then another question. We got to hear like a crazy backstage story.
Oh, I've got a good one. I've got my favorite one.
Okay.
So we were opening for Muddy Waters, who's long passed, and he if you guys probably know who Muddy Waters is. He was one of the original old blues.
Maybe like the most well-known blues artist in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
So we were opening for him, and it was this funky old, it was like a huge bar, but it was funky, and it had, the dressing room was clear in the basement, and the basement was just like straight upstairs, like the building was probably from the 1800s, just old. So we did our set, and I was so excited, and they start the thing, and they're going, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's star time. Will you please welcome Mr. Muddy Waters?" And he's no Muddy. He's not there. They do it again. Band's rocking. Wait, no Muddy. So my friend, the drummer in my band, said, "We better go get him. He can't hear. We better go down and get him." So we go down. Muddy is on this pleather couch that probably lots of things have been on, and just sound asleep like this. And he said, "You wake him up." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to wake up Mr. Waters." And he's like, "Yeah, he'd rather see your face than mine." So I, "Excuse me, Mr. Waters? Mr. Waters." I called him that, not Muddy. I loved it. And he woke up and he just trotted up the stairs and nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Sorry again, Lisa.
No, we're going to survive. So, well, let's talk about that. So Muddy wasn't showing nerves at that moment.
No, he was just tired. He was old.
So
He was so old, he was sitting to perform. He had to sit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, but let's, I read my little research about your pre-stage nerves, and they never went away. And you still do a couple gigs a year.
I still
get nervous. You still get nervous, right?
Yeah, always.
It like matters.
Yeah, it's a drag.
Yeah, no, I actually that was part of my love-hate relationship with me being a competitor. I loved the element of the competition.
Yeah.
But those pre-game nerves, and then I read what you did to cope, and for all you skiers, or if you're doing a stand-up speaking gig, or you're doing a podcast like this and you hate public speaking, breathe.
Yeah, breathe.
You said you would go right there before.
It's like a Valium.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, if you can't get a Valium. I'm kidding.
But that's it. It was like sort of, and obviously being a singer is so similar to being an athlete. Oxygen is your friend. Mm-hmm. It's your only friend, right?
Yeah, and if you don't have it, it's...
Yeah.
And I always get to the stage for the sound check and look at the environment, make sure I'm comfortable in the surroundings. And once you kind of make peace with how it's going to be and where you are, and then that helps a lot too.
No, I was very similar. When I would go to a lake and it was a new lake, mm-hmm. I would walk the property.
Sure.
And then I would watch others before me, not necessarily what they were doing, but I was sort of taking in the scenery. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see what it was going to look like behind the boat from one end, and then I'd walk all the way to the other, and I'd sort of get the visual I was going to see from behind the boat, same as you want to be on the stage. And, right, even if it's something that you're not going to look at.
Right. Where
you're not going to look at the people, or you're going to, you just... Yeah, that comfort with your venue.
It really helps.
So
I don't know how you could compete, because I get stage fright getting up on the water ski if my neighbors are on the dock. Like just the getting up part.
Yeah,
that's still an issue.
Well, same with you singing. I couldn't imagine. All the voice lessons in the world aren't going to prep me for being on stage with people listening.
I remember when I was just so young and started in 12 and 13, just standing. And I think my mother said, "Honey, you got to maybe move around a little bit. Just try to." And that was good advice. Right. And then you get more comfortable and more comfortable. So
if you're going to, what is your favorite venue you've ever performed in?
Studio 54. In New York City, which is long gone now, but at the time it had the big moon up. the stage was real high, really high, and it went up on a hydraulic thing. And then behind this was this moon. It was a half moon. It's the famous one, and the cocaine spoon ran out in lights. But it was such a cool venue and kind of iconic. And to be able to say that I got to work there is pretty fun.
So where if there was one venue that you didn't get to play at, you're like, you know what? I would really like to play that. And you may be one of those bucket lists that never gets checked, but
yeah. Well, Radio City. I mean,
there you go.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And then what about if you had one CD, an album? Sorry for we'll go proper musical terminology, and if you had one album to listen to, and that was it, you could never listen to another. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
It's so
Just
funny.
period.
Musicians, they honor Stevie Wonder
because he's a monster.
Yeah.
Just or Ray Charles. Wow.
Yeah. And then I've heard, as far as sort of the modern genre, that Dave Matthews and that crew's very similar. That it's really hard to play their stuff because it's so technical. Yep. Right. Yeah.
Or Steely Dan. They're crazy. When I saw them in concert, meticulously perfect.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting to watch that just like the record.
Right.
Which not usually that doesn't happen.
It's like they rehearse.
As opposed to like John Mayer, who's just ripping.
Improv.
So, yeah.
Improv versus.
And they're both awesome.
Right.
I love both of them.
Well, so let's talk about. So I'm wearing my Donovan Frankenreiter T-shirt.
Who's amazing.
And I put you on him this morning, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this."
Freaked me out.
And he's got a voice similar to yours. It's like this because there's been some of your friends here. We already talked about Chubby Bobby Vandell, who's an unbelievable drummer. And then we talked about Ricky Peterson, who's an unbelievable keyboardist.
Bobby has played with everybody.
Right.
Gladys Knight.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. Just name someone and he's played with them. So he's got way more stories.
Well, it was super cool. We were here a few years back, and I put on Jack Johnson, another one of my surf artists that I love.
Well.
And I remember you were upstairs getting ready for dinner, and you yelled over, "Who in the hell is this? This guy rips." And it was funny, Ricky was sitting there, and he goes, the very first sort of lick goes off, and he says, "Hey, is this John Mayer?" And I said, "No," I said, "Good call, it's Jack Johnson." And then you remember the story. Ricky says to me not long after, he goes, "Yeah, I really want to play with that guy, John Mayer." It's funny you brought that up because he did. I come home from a tour, middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. I'm watching some live concert in Milan, Italy, and it's John Mayer. And next thing they do a cutaway to the keyboardist, and it's Ricky P. And I'm like, hey, I was hanging out with that guy just a few months ago.
You were in the boat show with me.
Yeah, so it's been like super cool coming here and hanging out with you and a lot of your musician friends.
And you guys, we are so excited when he comes to town. Everybody, because you know everybody here now.
Yeah. 25 years, it's been sweet coming here. Yeah, I have to say that. So let's talk about when you met Charlie, and you guys going to high school reunion down in Iowa tomorrow, and you went to high school together, and then you sort of did a bit like my life, sort of crashed and burned a bit, and then you rebounded, and then life has been good ever since, right?
Thank God.
Yeah. You guys are one of the couples I put on a pedestal.
Oh, thanks.
So, yeah.
But that took a long time to find each other.
Right. It took some work. We already had our sort of heart-to-heart up there earlier. Yeah, it took some School of Hard Knocks.
Yes,
right?
Did.
That's where we graduated from.
Probably everybody has
right.
that in their back pocket.
So let's talk about Piper, your little one, who's not so little anymore, who is getting married, and it's going to be here sort of on the...
In 2 weeks.
Yes.
And I'm already drinking.
So life is crazy for mom and dad.
Yeah, it's getting great. It's going to be great. I wish you were coming.
Yeah, I know. Bummer, but like I had to work. Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah.
Pesky work.
Yeah. So, well, I tell you what, we're going to wrap up here because we're going to go water skiing. She's got her Carbon Omni.
I've got the cool ski.
And yeah, so we're in one of the maybe most water ski boat enthused environments in the world.
This is a boat ski.
I mean, that we are this bar that we're sitting at is half of a canoe. I see a Riva over there. That's like a 1950s model.
I think it's a 63.
So we've got all these old woodies around. So it's been kind of an interesting life the last few years here on the lake, hasn't it?
It's been great. I love it here.
Yeah.
We
So
love it when this one comes out.
So speaking of that, we're going to go love it on the water, and we're going to go do a little boating after, maybe a little happy hour in the water. So
I'll do that.
yeah. So
good.
anyway, thank you so much,
Thank
Miss
you,
Melanie.
my
This has been
lovely.
so much fun. So I wanted to ask you one more thing. So like, what would be if you had one song to sing?
Oh boy, that's impossible.
Yeah,
That's
you can't just do
impossible.
one that would be your favorite go-to.
Oh, I
Like
don't
maybe
think
for
you
church
could-
singers, it'd be like an Amazing Grace or
Oh, I don't think I can pick one.
yeah.
I go in cycles. Like I get fixated on a song, and I wake up with it. It's in my head. I go to sleep. It's there, and then I'll be done with it. And then I fixate on something else. So I don't think I could pick one.
No, I sort of do the same. I sort of go through some different wavelengths of taste
Yeah.
in music, but I have to say that music has been such a huge part of my life. I've spent
And
40 years on the road,
and he
and
always brings great music to us.
Yeah, it's-
He
well,
always
it's-
turns me
it's-
on to something that I don't know.
well,
Every
now you
time I
have
see him.
Jet Jenkins Music, so you guys
She's
check that out.
amazing.
A young indie pop artist, and it is really,
Yeah, but
really.
she's a good little
and
writer.
she's exactly.
Yeah.
She's a creative writer, and
She's
she
got
writes
that gift.
all her own music, and it's very personal, and it's unbelievable. She's got a great
I
band.
see a big future for her.
Yeah.
She's so young.
Yeah, she's just
She's
19.
hitting it
Yeah,
right now.
she
and
is.
She should be. Good for her.
Well, speaking of that, we're going to go hit it right out these doors on the lake. So thank you so much. Oh,
Thank
one
you.
last thing. I didn't do my merch still early on. Here's our straw hats. So
Wait. Got this.
T-shirts in 3 different colors. We got sun hoodies in 3 different colors, gray, white, and the baby blue
Oh
or the
yeah,
sky
you say
blue.
the hoodie. I like the hoodie.
Yes. So you guys can check it out on skiwithwade.com. And you can also see any of my old podcasts.
You look pretty good in that.
I kind of like it. I feel like it should take it off. I'm in the house, but be in the boat soon. It's going back on. So yeah, any of my tour dates, if you want to have a Ski with Wade day at your lake, just send me a message and we'll hook up, and I'll bring all kind of HO Syndicate gear and my own merch. So yeah, we'll have fun and we'll do a little Ski
are
with
fun.
Wade.
If there's one thing you could say about you, he is fun.
Well, thank you. I have to make it fun.
You're a
Again.
kind teacher. You're not mean. You're very kind.
Good deal. I like to hear that too. So positive reaffirmation.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, thank you guys for joining us today. Ski with Wade, cut more rope. That's a wrap this week for Ski with Wade podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to email me at wade@skiwithwade.com or direct message me on Instagram or Facebook with any questions you may have. We'll cut more rope next week. Ski with Wade.